Hello, Mount Calvary, and welcome to your daily devotional. I'm Vicar Tim, and we are continuing our walk through Judges together. Today, we are looking at the beginning of the story of Jotham. If you remember from yesterday, Abimelech was a son of Gideon, but not through a wife, through a concubine, through a slave. And he went and he got his village support, and he got some silver, and he hired a bunch of terrible people, and he went and he killed 69 of 70 of his brothers. And the brother that survived was Jotham. And Jotham hid away and kept his life. And today we're going to see Jotham come out of hiding and proclaim to Shechem a story. He's going to tell them a story about trees who are trying to find a king, and then he will explain it and run away. So let's get into this story about Jotham. When Jotham was told about this, he went to a high spot on Mount Gerizim. He shouted to them, "Listen to me, you citizens of Shechem, so that God might listen to you." The trees went to anoint someone to be king over them. They said to the olive tree, "Be our king." But the olive tree responded, "Should I stop producing oil, which people use to honor gods and humans, in order to rule the trees?" Then the tree said to the fig tree, "You come and be our king." But the fig tree responded, "Should I stop producing my good sweet fruit, in order to rule the trees?" Then the tree said to the grapevine, "You come and be our king." But the grapevine responded, "Should I stop producing my wine, which makes gods and humans happy, in order to rule the trees?" Then all the trees said to the thorn bush, "You come and be our king." The thorn bush responded to the trees, "If you really want to anoint me to be your king, then come and take shelter in my shade. But if not, fire will come out of the thorn bush and burn up the cedars of Lebanon." Let's stop there. So there's a group of trees, a nation of trees, you could say, and they first go to the olive tree. And the olive tree says, "My job is to make oil, not to be your king." Then they go to a fig tree, and he says, my job, my gifts is to make fruit, not to rule." And then they went to the grapevine. He says, "My job is to make wine, not to be your king." And lastly, all the trees. You notice that there? All the trees in verse 14 go to the thorn bush. The thorn bush. The worthless tree. It's barely a tree. It's a bush of thistles. And they say, "Be our king." And the thorn bush replies, "If you really want me to be your king, then come and take shelter in my shade." I don't know if you've ever seen a thorn bush or a tree without leaves in the sun, but they don't provide a lot of shade. Trees need to be full, they need to be fruitful to provide shade. Shade trees are ones that are abundant, not ones that are hanging onto life. And yet this thorn bush, the one who cannot offer shade, is the one that they have called to be the king. And then the thorn bush concludes, "But if you don't, fire will come out of me and burn up all of you trees." So they're kind of in a lose-lose situation. And here Jotham is going to explain it, beginning in verse 16. "If you acted with sincerity and integrity when you made Abimelech king, be happy. If you treated Jerubbaal and his family well," again that's Gideon, "if you treated him as he deserved, be happy. My father fought for you. He risked his life and rescued you from Midian. But today you have attacked my father's family. You have executed his 70 sons. You have made Abimelech, who is the son of my father's slave girl, king over the citizens of Shechem, just because he's your brother. So if you are now acting with sincerity and integrity towards Jerubbaal and his family, then be happy with Abimelech. And let Abimelech be happy with you. But if that's not the case, Let fire come out of Abimelech and burn up citizens of Shechem and Beth Millo. Also let fire come out of the citizens of Shechem and Beth Millo and burn up Abimelech. Then Jotham ran away quickly. He went to Berad and lived there to avoid his brother Abimelech. There's a lot to unpack there in that little explanation. If you all picked Abimelech out of the goodness and meaning well, then you're okay. But you picked him knowing good well what he would do. And you know you didn't pick the one that God wanted. You picked the one that you and your selfish desires wanted. You know, government is a tool of God, but it's really limited and it's not ordained by God. God places people to lead. We see that with Gideon. We see that with Deborah. We see that with David, with Joshua, with Moses. And when God chooses the leader and the people of God let that leader lead, God blesses them. But when we try to take it under control and choose for ourselves and not listen to God, we end up burning ourselves and burning the leader. We as the church aren't in ministry by ourselves. We have one true shepherd, Jesus Christ. And we as a church are called to listen to him. To allow him to anoint the leaders, to allow him to call who he pleases, and then we are to submit ourselves to that leader. And when we allow ourselves to listen to Jesus and allow him to pick our leader and to allow the leader to lead with confidence and trust in the gospel, God is going to do amazing things through us. But if we hold on to what we want, and we put what we want above what God is calling us to do, we're going to have trouble. We're going to burn ourselves. Instead of being fruitful in the mission field, we will become burnt. Embers. We won't be able to go out and be the hands and feet of Jesus. We'll be stuck as ash in the ground. So I encourage you as we continue to walk forward as a church after this difficult year that seems to still be going, to remember that we have our shepherd and to submit ourselves to what he is calling us to do. Have a great day, Mount Calvary.